It's daytime with Aston Avery. Stephen Smith's with me, and you've probably heard what that theme was all about there. The Doctor Who theme, of course, there as writer, author, and I have to say, number one, Dalek is here to tell us Doctor Who and Daleks saved his life, and about his new book as well. It's David Howe who joins us right now. So welcome, David.
Exterminate.
Stephen, before you go there, I'm going to have to say this to you. Exterminate.
Oh my word!
I had to say that. So welcome.
Exterminate voice is very good, I think. Don't you?
That's very good, Stephen. Yeah, that's very, very good.
Exterminate. I am a Dalek.
It's not bad. It's actually quite good for a Dalek. So welcome, David. But do you remember the magic of when Doctor Who actually first gripped you?
I do. That was way back in the 60s. I was about 6 or 7 or something. And I was watching Daleks and Cybermen on the telly, and it was just absolutely thrilling stuff. I absolutely loved the show. And I kind of just kept on watching it, really. Yeah, it was the monsters that did it for me. I always liked the monsters.
I know. I used to hide behind the sofa, Aston, when the Cybermen came on. When I was a little kid, I was fascinated but terrified at the same time.
Other ones you got there, you got like Slovene, you've got obviously the Ood as well that came into play, and obviously quite recently Jadoons are also in play as well. So
that's right, they're all modern ones, Aston. I think that's the thing. I mean, one of the things I kind of mentioned, I think, in the book is that Doctor Who for me has always really been more about horror than science fiction. I mean, obviously, nominally, it's a science fiction program, time travel, all that kind of stuff. But actually, it's that fear content. It's that hiding behind the sofa. It's that these the cliffhanger endings. Are the Doctor going to escape? Is his companions going to be all right? What's going to happen? Kind of thing. It's that kind of horror and terror and the frighteningness of it that really made it for me. So for me, it's always been more of a horror show when it's been most successful, which is interesting.
There's been a lot of controversy over the latest Doctor Who. Do you like the Doctor Who we've just had?
I did, yes. I enjoyed it. I think it's interesting watching the show develop over the years. I mean, it's been going for over 60 years now. And of course, it has to develop and change to sort of keep up with technology and the ways that we watch television now and the way we consume it now, because obviously it's all streaming and all this kind of stuff these days. But no, I did enjoy it. I thought Shooty Gatwa was excellent. I thought it was kind of fun. It was fast paced, good monsters, good effects.
Some great monsters.
It was just enjoyable. I mean, I always say, all I really want is for it to be enjoyable. That's what we want all television to be, isn't it? And I did enjoy it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. I wonder who the new Doctor Who's going to be. Is he coming back, or is he?
Well, no one knows yet who that's going to be.
Yeah, it all seems to be Piper, but she's popped up in Wednesday on Netflix.
I know she did. She's on Wednesday now. I think it's all a little bit up in the air. I mean, I think it's again a nature of the way that we make and consume television these days. Obviously, they had Disney as a streaming partner for it, so they had a lot of input from Disney and money and stuff like that. And obviously, any streamer is going to kind of be very careful about where they put their money, and they're going to be looking, what do we want to do? Which 300 shows do we want to do in the next year? Where do we want to put our money? Where do we want to spend it? And of course, some favourite shows get dropped, and new ones come along, and it's just the way it works these days.
I'd like to see Colin Farrell be the next Doctor Who.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell would be brilliant.
Interesting choice there, Colin Farrell, and that as well. But it could work. But then sometimes having a big name may not work, as they say as well.
Yeah, I think so. I always thought that the Doctor ought to be played by someone you've never heard of. Someone come almost virtually unknown for doing that sort of thing. Yeah. Which apart from, I suppose, Chris Eccleston. Chris Eccleston was probably the most famous actor.
Who was your favourite Doctor?
David Tennant, of course, as well, was another one that was quite big at the time anyway, and started to become big at the time.
He was, Aston, indeed. He was, but you're right that he was starting to become big. He really, it was after Doctor Who that really he's just become ubiquitous on television and excellent with it. But my favourite Doctor, mine was Patrick Troughton, the one I grew up with. I used to love his portrayal, and again, it's because it's the Doctor, and partly because it's the stories and the monsters and that nostalgia element. But they often say that the one that you watched when you were a kid is the one that tends to be your favourite. So it just depends on how old you are and when you kind of first hooked into the show, really, as to which your favourite Doctor might be.
Absolutely.
It's great you mentioned about Patrick Troughton because, of course, he's the second Doctor Who there. So your journey from when Patrick Troughton started to current day, to from fan to authority on the show is remarkable. So can you explain about the big turning points here and what were they?
Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a few turning points. I mean, really, it's almost using Doctor Who as a kind of a jumping off point for creativity, and being inspired to do things because of a silly TV show with Daleks and monsters and screaming and running up and down corridors and all that kind of stuff that we know and love. But again, in the 70s, I built my own Dalek. I mean, it was like a boring, long hot summer kind of thing. What should we do? Well, we'll build a Dalek. Some plans here in the Radio Times. We'll build a Dalek. It's fantastic. I want to do a fanzine. I want to put my own magazine together about the show because I loved it so much and was enjoying it. I want to help organise conventions. I want to help do this. I want to help run reference department. I want to publish books. I want to write about it. I want to edit. And it's all of that creativity that came out of my love for Doctor Who, which is what the book kind of chronicles and goes through my life and all the different turning points that you get. But of course, along the way, you also have other key points. It's a good question, Aston, because it's not something you necessarily think about, but it's things like getting the first book published with Virgin Publishing at the end of the 90s was a sort of a big thing. Getting to do the John Pertwee's autobiography with him was like a massive thing. And then there's obviously elements of working with different merchandisers because I've always loved the toys, and games. So I'm a big collector as well. But getting to work with some of those guys on their ranges of Doctor Who toys, just kind of giving them advice and showing them photos and digging up stuff from my collection. So what does a Sea Devil look like? Well, there's some photos of a Sea Devil. Now you know what it looks like, so you can make a model of it, kind of thing. That kind of element is all kind of quite important.
Well, you highlight quite a bit this in your new book, and one of the things you also do, which is quite stunning, is how Doctor Who practically saved your life.
It did. It was again a very bizarre kind of set of circumstances. We decided that Doctor Who's being made in Cardiff, and Cardiff had this great big Doctor Who exhibition there called the Doctor Who Experience, which I'd never been to. I'd not been to, despite the fact that one of my best friends was kind of running it. He was a curator on it, Andrew. So Andrew said, "Oh, you've got to come. You've got to come. You've got to come." So we made arrangements to go to see this exhibition at Cardiff. So Sam and me and Andrew and a couple of friends from America, Steve and Jess, were all in a car driving to Cardiff, going over the Severn Bridge, going over the Severn Bridge towards Cardiff, and I started to feel really ill. So we stopped just past the bridge, and it transpired that I was having a massive heart attack. It was absolutely horrendous. It was so painful, worst experience of my life. But because we were going to see the Daleks, we happened to be in South Wales. And unknown to me, Cardiff University Hospital is one of the top cardiac hospitals in the country. So that's the one that they took me to, and they stented me and they saved my life. So it was only because I was going to see the Daleks and going to see the exhibition that my life was saved by those genius doctors at Cardiff University Hospital,
Wow.
Which is a really bizarre sort of set of coincidences. Because I think if I'd been anywhere else in the country, I don't know which hospital I'd have gone to, how close it would have been. I may not be here. It was just that bizarre situation that I happened to be at exactly the right place to survive that massive heart attack. But yeah, it's because Doctor Who saved my life because that's why we were there.
You weren't exterminated thanks to Doctor Who.
I wasn't exterminated, no. And in fact, a couple of years later, we then took a return trip and actually got to see the exhibition and to thank the Daleks in person for saving my life.
I must say, David, wearing all black on a black chair, you're looking like ahead. So you're looking a bit very, very Doctor Who-ish.
I'm a bit shiny,
what are you wearing?
It's just a shiny top thing. It
just very Doctor Who.
No, I just being comfy. No.
And David,
I'll zap you with my sonic screwdriver in a minute, Steve. You be careful.
Careful. I think we've got to be careful here. So, David, you've got a new book that's going to be coming out. It's titled, and I think it's quite apt as well, Who Me, comes out this October. So, listeners that want to get the book from October, what can they expect to be in there?
Well, it's called Who Me because when I was contacted by the publishers and we started to discuss me doing the book, of course, my first reaction was, "What? Who me? You know, you want a book from me about me?" It was quite a surprise. So that kind of stuck. So we kind of left it as Who Me because it's about who, and it's about me. So it's basically my life story. It's from me as a little child being born in South London, growing up in a house, my experiences with Doctor Who, watching things like Lost in Space and other great kind of TV shows in the late 60s, early 70s. Um, and then sort of getting how I got into fandom, how I got into it, what I did, what I learnt, and it's kind of all of those steps along the way, taking you through all the work with the fan club, all the work doing the books, doing fanzines, working with the actors, meeting them, sort of impressions of them, and then all these sort of adventures I've had, all the places I've been, different, conventions around the world and in the UK. And it's intended to be a very much a sort of a very positive, very kind of forward looking. This is how something as daft as a TV show can actually inspire you creatively and get you out there and get you doing things and get you almost living your best life, as it were. In a way that if you hadn't actually found that TV show, you might never have done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's all about. It's intended as a very positive look at life through the Doctor Who lens. And it's also, I think it's quite funny as well.
It's a very
It's kind of
interesting
quite
plot,
amusing.
David, because people always criticize children watching TV, but
Yeah,
also it's a great, powerful tool.
it is.
And I mean, watching the right programs.
I think that's absolutely right, Steve. It is a powerful tool, but as you say, it has to be, the right programs. This is why shows like Blue Peter did so well,
Yeah,
because they're also showing that creativity, showing you can get out and do this, you can make this, you can build this, you can visit this, you can have these adventures, and it's a great to have a show that does all of that. For me, it was very much also an intrigue about, well, how did they do that? How did they make Daleks move? How did they make them talk? How did the Cybermen kill people with guns? What were the effects? Who made this? What went into it? And so a lot of my work, because I'm a kind of historian and a behind the scenes factual writer about the show as well, a lot of that element also informed that. So interviewing the directors, the makeup artists, the costume people, the effects people, the actors, finding out how was all this done. It's quite different from the way they do these shows today, of course, which is a lot of CGI and green screen. And in fact, the poor actors are often as not, the things that they're seeing, they're not seeing because they haven't made them yet in the
yeah,
computer. So
yeah,
it's very, very challenging for them trying to make these films and TV because they're not actually there. Whereas, of course, with Doctor Who, particularly back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they were there. And all of these monsters were actually there and the effects and the sets. And it's that fascination for it that really drove me into finding out and writing these books and learning about the art of television making.
if you
And
could say so.
gone, yeah, and obviously as well here, David, what has been the most rewarding experience from your years of involvement, especially with Doctor Who, especially the franchise itself?
I think to be honest with you, the most rewarding thing is probably the friends that I've made. I mean, I've still got friends today, which I first met when I was 14, 15 years old. Way back in the 70s. And those friends have stayed with me, and I've met more friends and more people. That's the most important thing, really. It's meeting people, trying to do the right thing, pushing forward, being nice to everybody. The usual same olds that everybody should really have as mantras to live by.
Yeah,
That's kind of the most important thing, I think. I mean, everything else is almost window dressing, but I've been very lucky in that I've visited the set, I've seen it being made. And I've cherished those moments. They've been very important to me because I love that behind the scenes element of watching something being made. It fascinates me. So there's a lot of moments like that have been quite important to me as well. But really, it's the people. It's the people that made it, the friends, the fans, the creativity that comes out of it all is astonishing.
if you could send a message to your younger self, the boy building a Dalek in South London, what would you say?
I don't think he'd believe me. I think if I popped up in the garden and said, David, it would probably be something like, don't stop doing what you're doing. Keep pushing forward, shoot for the stars. You might hit the moon. The worst that can happen is that they might say no. And if that's the worst that can happen, well, you might as well ask then. You might as well just keep pushing, keep putting it out there, keep trying, because, you've only failed if you stop. And that's kind of a very, very big message, I think. For
that's a very important thing for all young people is to keep going.
Keep going, keep going. Don't give up. You only fail if you stop. The worst that can happen is someone will say, no, you can't. Or, and how bad is that really? It's not. So, don't worry about it.
And David, obviously, we know the book's out in October here as well, but how can our listeners actually get the book once it's available?
Well, that's an interesting question. In the UK, it's available from Amazon. So it's on Amazon now. It's called Who Me by David J. Howe. I've actually also read the audio of the book, which I'm quite proud of, to be honest. So you can listen to me reading my own book if you want the audio copy. But it's there. It's on in hardback, and it's on audio, and it's on Kindle, and it's all on Amazon. So that's probably the best place in the UK. If you're outside the UK, it's slightly harder. We do know that they're doing an edition for airports, which is really exciting. But I'm not quite sure if that's just airports in the UK or if it's airports in other countries. I'm not quite sure. And I know the publishers are working on trying to get an edition available for America and Australia and stuff like that. But again, I'm not quite sure where they would be available. But certainly Amazon, as usual these days, is your best bet for finding Who Me by David J. Howe.
So brilliant news for you, and really good luck with the book, David.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Stephen and I today as well, David.
You're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Exterminate.